Hey guys, this is a mechanic task guide for Hobby Club. For this task, we need to locate and obtain the AK-50 barrel on reserve, then locate and obtain the AK-50 dust cover at the checkpoint on customs, and then stash 4 AK-50 parts being the body, handguard, barrel, and dust cover at a specified location on customs. So the first thing I recommend doing after you accept the Hobby Club task is to go to your hideout and start the craft for the AK-50 body, which does unlock for you when you do accept the task, but it will require the level 3 workbench. And the reason why I recommend starting this ASAP is because it can take up to 42 hours to complete, or as you can see on the screen, mine was 38 hours, so it is going to be less depending on your crafting skill. But just be aware that because of this craft being recently added, the cost of the items are insane right now, especially for weapon parts, which I have seen go up to 1 million a piece. And because you require 10 of them, then that can get pretty costly. But you can always take advantage of the weapon part craft if you do want to save some money and if you have some time. But also, by the time that this video does come out, hopefully they will have dropped down to a more reasonable amount for you guys. But now, starting with the retrieving of the items, the first thing listed is going to be the barrel on reserve, and I do have a map on the screen with the potential spawns being inside the K-Train buildings 4 and also 6, and so I will show you guys that in a raid now. So my PMC's here in reserve, and then the armored train buildings right here. To my right is where the hermetic door extract location is, and then if I turn a little bit more to my right, then that is where the K-Train buildings are located, just in front of me. So building 4 is going to be right here, but we will be starting with building 6. So halfway through this building, in front of this forklift will be a table, and then just to the right of this drill press underneath the lamp will be the first potential spawn for the barrel. Now after you've checked here, then the other 2 spawns will be inside of building 4, so heading over there through this train car, the second potential spawn will be on the first table to our immediate right upon entering, and it will be leaning on the vise to the right of this hard hat. And then after checking here, then the third and final potential spawn, and where it did end up spawning for me in this raid, will be in the back corner on the desk to the left of this sink next to the grinder. Now once you have retrieved the barrel, then it will show up in your task items inventory, and then you do have to survive an extract, otherwise you will have to return to reserve in order to get the barrel all over again. And just a tip for the barrel, the handguard, and also the dust cover is that you can actually move these items into your task items in your stash while you are working on retrieving the other parts, so that this way if you end up dying, then you won't lose everything and having to go back to retrieve it all over again. You will just have to go back and retrieve the part that you are currently on. But if you do this, just be sure to move the items back into your task items on your character when you do go to plant the items on customs. Now the next part that I recommend doing is to complete the fair price part 1 and then hand over the absurd amount of euros to Skier so that you can have the fair price part 2 unlocked. And then we are going to head to woods, even though it says optional. Don't listen to that because BSG is just trolling us at this point, and then you will require the handguard to complete the Hobby Club task. But anyway, here is a map of woods, and where you do have to go is the old sawmill area, and I will show you guys the 3 known spawn locations for the handguard in a raid now. So my PMC's here on woods, and then the location of the handguard will be in one of 3 spawns in the 2-story barn here. So heading into the barn and going up the stairs, the first spawn will be in the vise on the second shelf. And as usual, I will post a picture of what each spawn does look like when the task is active. The second potential spawn will be on the desk next to the satellite to the right of the radio. And then the third and final potential spawn, and where it was located for me, was down the stairs on the first floor in the blue locker in the corner. And once you have retrieved the handguard, then it will show up in your task items inventory, and you do have to survive an extract, otherwise you will have to return to woods in order to get the handguard all over again. And then lastly, once you do have your AK-50 barrel from reserve, the handguard from woods, and the AK-50 body from your hideout workbench, then you can go and head to customs in order to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, and grab the dust cover at the top floor of the military checkpoint, and then also plant all 4 of the items in the building at the antenna location above new gas right after. So if you did offload any of your items into your stash inventory, then now will be the time to transfer them back to your PMC before loading up that customs raid. So my PMC's here behind the military checkpoint building, and to find the dust cover you do have to head up to the 2nd story and go inside the center of the building. Once you do get inside, then there will be a chair in the back right corner, and then the AK-50 dust cover will just be leaning on the top part of the chair. And once you have retrieved this item, then we will make our way up the hill to the building at the antenna area above new gas. But keep in mind that depending on your spawn, you could always just go to this building first and stash the 3 items that you did bring into raid with you before grabbing the dust cover from the checkpoint, which in my opinion, the top priority is definitely going to be getting the AK-50 body planted first and foremost, so that this way you don't have to do another 40-hour craft and spend however many millions that it will take you to replace it. So if you did spawn anywhere around the big red side of the map, then I would definitely recommend going and stashing the items first and then coming back once you do end up getting the dust cover from the checkpoint area. So once you get to the antenna building, the stash location will be the blue locker straight through the entrance, and it will be a 5-second timer per plant. And once you have finished your final plant, then the task will be fully completed and ready to be handed over to mechanic when you do exit the raid, regardless of if you die or survive an extract. And by completing the Hobby Club, then you will also in turn complete the Skier task fair price part 2. But if you do end up dying on your way to stash these items before you get anything successfully stashed, then you will lose it all and have to go and acquire all of these items again to try and planting them all over again. But if you do die after planting some of the items, then you will only have to replace the ones that you didn't fully get planted. Anything that was stashed will successfully lock in for you. So hopefully this guide helped you guys to complete this task. Thank you guys for choosing to watch my guide on this, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.